Hello everyone, my name is Pacha and welcome back to another video of Tiergarten Edelwald. And before we start talking about today's build, which is for the Bighorn Sheep, I have to make an important announcement regarding this channel for the next at least 2 weeks. Yeah, I think that should be fine. And that is that there won't be any videos for the next 2 weeks. At least for next week there won't be any video. The week after that probably also not, but maybe if I can manage to do something there might be a video, but in general let's say no videos for the next 2 weeks because I am in Copenhagen next week. For the entire week I will be in Copenhagen with my girlfriend for our annual holiday, so to say. So this means of course I can't publish a video and also I can't record any videos, meaning that you have to live without me, without Tiergarten Edelwald for the next 2 weeks at least. I'm very sorry about that, but hey, everyone needs to take a break once in a while and have to have a holiday basically. And it also will serve a deal because we will be visiting the Copenhagen Zoo. So I will get some new inspiration for the series, maybe, hopefully, and then I will share that of course with you once we are back. Another thing I want to talk about now is that as of now, as I'm of me recording this voiceover here, which is on the Monday of this week when this video goes live, the 16th, I have no information about any new DLC regarding or coming from Frontier. We know there is one on the way, but as of now I didn't got any information from Frontier about it. This could of course change when you watch this video. Maybe it could still happen, or it will be next week. And if it is next week, if there will be an announcement for the new DLC next week, then sadly I can't make any videos about it, neither about the announcement itself and also the showcase of everything in that DLC. Because I'm not in the country, I'm not able to record anything. I hope not. I hope I can survive next week's week in Copenhagen without there being an announcement for the new DLC. It would be very great. I really hope that they take a little bit of time before they announce that potential India DLC. But knowing my luck and knowing Frontier and me in the past, they probably will release it right at the time I will be traveling to Copenhagen. But yeah, so that you know, if there are no videos from me about this new DLC, whatever it will be, it is because I'm sadly not here. But yeah, let's talk about today's video. And you already saw in a brief moment there what's the idea behind today's DLC, behind today's habitat is, and that is all about the panorama effect, which I already talked about in last week's video with the coyotes, and that is that you can see multiple habitats, multiple animals from one viewing point, creating sort of like a natural panorama, a natural scene. Of course, you would probably do that with animals from the same region, from the same continent, so that it feels like a natural scene, seeing all these animals in what feels like a totally open area where there are no boundaries between them, so they probably could travel from one exhibit to the other. But of course it's all made via hidden paths, hidden trenches and things like that. And in this case we are doing this now with coyotes, and today's animal, the Bighorn Sheep, one of my favorites from the Americas pack, because I'm a big I'm a big fan of caprine species, of goat and sheep species, and so this animal was long on my wish list, and I'm very happy that we get it now. And the idea behind this was that you, from the coyote exhibit, from behind their rock fence basically, you can see the goat mountain, and when one of the goats climbs it enrichment items and stands on top, you get a wonderful shot of the coyotes in the foreground in this more train yard, old decrepit mining town area, and then this more wilderness area with the goats on the mountains, rocky mountains, whatever you want to call it, in the background. And luckily managed to do it. I wasn't really sure last week with the coyotes video if I would be able actually to pull this off, especially because I need a lot of elevation for that, to peek over the rockwork for the coyotes with the goats, and making gigantic mountains in Plan Zoo is possible, but especially for a tight space as this exhibit is, it can be a little bit challenging to pull it off, to make it look amazing and to also make it kind of realistic. I say kind of realistic, not fully realistic. I think there's not really a full realistic way to do these things. There is probably, but I don't do that. And yeah, I managed to pull it off. It works pretty fine, and I'm happy that I even got another second different way of pulling off this panorama exhibit, which you see in a moment. Once I'm done with all this ridiculous amount of rock work, it's, I don't know how many stones I placed, but these arches that I'm now placing over here, they are actually traversable for the mountain goats. They can walk on them, I can put them on there, they can walk on the whole thing, and then when they are standing on them, you can also see them from the coyote exhibit in the background, which is totally cool. It really looks nice. You probably posted, if you're coming from any social media platform, you probably saw the pictures of me showing that off. So it's I'm really happy with the whole exhibit. And yeah, here you notice it in the previous shots you saw, or you still see this wall over here, but of course this wall doesn't work with the whole mountain in the back and the foreground. So I had to extend the moat around it, because the goats could just easily jump over the fence in the background. It looked a little bit ridiculous with this huge mountain. I also didn't want to make another huge mountain wall. Some zoos do that, where they have mountain in the foreground and then another wall in the background, or elevation change. I did something similar with my I think it was Markhor and Takin, with my Takin and Markhor exhibit over in our little Himalayan section, where I had this elevation change because there was a hill in the background. Here we are on the flat ground and the flat land near the zoo's border, so it would be a bit difficult to create an artificial mountain behind it, and it wouldn't look as good, because also this wall would need to be higher than the actual highest point of inside the exhibit, and that would make it stupidly high, would make it look really bad. So I decided to just extend the moat and then have this area also be viewable for the guests, so that they get an almost 360 degree view on these goats, which of course also meant I needed to extend the background of this goat exhibit to make it look interesting, because initially I just had planned the front view, the main view that you see when you're standing between the coyote and the bighorn exhibit, and now I had to also make this background, or this backstage area, basically had to make it look a little bit interesting and usable for the goats, which of course created a few challenges. And I think the main view still is this front shot, this front area. And the background area is just, if you want to see more of them, or if you don't see the goats and maybe they are in the background, you can go there, but it's not as interesting. This area over here, it's not as interesting as the other direction. So it is there, but it's not the main focus, basically. And also, what's surprising, was also of course always different, is the traversable area. Despite the goat having a really good traversable area when it comes to mountains, when it comes to rocks, to rock elevations, things like that, they can jump over them, which I'm very happy about, that Frontier went this way and they didn't give them the standard ungulate elevation, or standard ungulate way of walking, so that they would be stuck at every tiny rock. I'm very happy about it. It still means that I can't make these rock buildings, these fake rocks, as realistic as they would be in real zoos. I remember seeing one in the Zoo of Berlin, which is really impressive. It's right at the entrance. I think it is for alpine ibex. I could be wrong, but it's definitely for an ibex species, and it's just a gigantic hill, a gigantic spire basically going up. Not really any stairs or anything like that. I think also the backstage is in this building. So it looks really, really cool, but it wouldn't work in the game because they could probably walk a few places there if the stones are aligned just right. But in general, they wouldn't be able to climb most of it, and they also couldn't use the enrichment item, which I also had trouble with making it workable, because it always said me it's not workable, but if someone it was working, they could use it, but it showed as not working. I managed in the end, I made it work by extending the top area to have enough room for them to interact with these enrichment items. You see it right here, but of course in a real zoo this would be much more tighter, this would be much more closer together, much more smaller, and it would still work because these animals I think they can walk up nearly 90-degree elevations, so almost vertical elevations basically. They can walk up to them, and surfaces, I want to say surfaces, they can walk up nearly vertical surfaces, of course, which they can't in the game, which is okay. This is a little bit sad, but I mean there are some limitations to how the animal AI works in here. But yeah, now we also have the chance, now that we extended this backstage area, to add a separation pen, so we can separate, for example, the male from the females if we need to, which is something, of course, very important, especially when it's not breeding season, or when we don't want to breed the animals, but the male wants to breed because they don't know it's not they're not allowed to breed. So we can separate them then in the smaller area. And then, of course, we are building the backstage area, which had a different layout in the beginning. It was much more angular, much more different to the exterior wall of the zoo. But this gave me a big headache with the way of how I wanted to do the roof for it. So I changed it and made it much more aligned to the wall with how that curves in this case angles. And I decided to go for a fake log shed or log cabin look over here, with having the plaster walls on the inside, but outside we have these logs sticking out and making it almost look like a log cabin, but it is of course way more modern, and inside is more clean. Speaking of inside, there is no inside. If you're expecting to see me building inside stables and things like that, I didn't do that because of course, once was time limitations. I wanted to get this video out before I go on holiday. Otherwise, I built so many stables already. If you want to see me building stables for hoofstock, I have many videos out there of different stables for hoofstocks, especially in Raven Creek, but also in this series. So if you want inspiration for that, there are videos out there. But if you say, I want to definitely see, I have to see the inside stable for the Bighorn Sheep, let me know. Okay, of course we can do that. And also the layout of this cabin will change, or is changed in the final result of this build, because in last week's Friday live stream we actually upgraded a little bit. For now it looks like a really long house, which also, of course, kind of fits with the theme of Native American, cowboys, western, things like that. But I wanted to change this a little bit up to make it a little bit more, dynamic, so it doesn't look like it's just a long house. We added another wing to the side, which also serves as a cover for the animals. So when it rains, they can stand. If we have something in there, they can take cover under the roof. And so it looks a little bit less gigantic, long, and unspecific, and actually looks like probably a real shelter for them would look. I also discovered this really nice piece from the Europe pack. I think it's called the bridge cover or bridge. It's the part of a bridge apparently in the Europe pack, but I think it makes up for really nice roof shingles or really nice roof pieces. So I used it here to really home in this log cabin made out of wood feeling, because we are still in this very themed area of Edelwald, which I think will not be how we do the whole zoo from now on. We still have some parts that are in the old area with the very antique and yeah, Renaissance style, Baroque style buildings, but we also have of course some new areas, but they will probably be more in the style of, yeah, modern zoo, so modern zoo buildings in contrast to very themed buildings. I just wanted to have this western Arizonan Mexican area over here, because I really like the idea of the feeling and theming of this last pack. And maybe, who knows, if the next pack is an India pack and has some great new pieces, if we get some new pieces, maybe it might change my opinion on that, maybe do an Indian themed area. I know I already have some places in mind in the zoo where I could put some of the animals, depending on what animals we will get. But I think I have some space in mind where I could put them. And also, the space is filling up quite nicely. People asked me in the last live stream how my performance was on the zoo, and it's still quite great. I'm still in the 30s to 40s when it comes to FPS. Of course, when I'm recording, it's a little bit less. But in general, the performance is still great. I can still work in the zoo, so there's still room to expand. I still have a lot of plans. There's a big South American area coming on, or a big South American habitat that I'm planning. There's still some spaces in the central plaza that need to be done. There are still some gaps over there, so there is stuff to come for the future, and I hope I can make it work, and I find a sweet spot where the zoo gets too big for me to handle, but also doesn't feel as empty or has gigantic gaps in it, like it did with Raven Creek, where my FPS were tanking, but there still were gigantic empty rooms in between the habitats, which made it look really ugly. Pre-planning, this case was never my strong suit, but with this zoo I think I'm on a good way of achieving what I want and still making it workable or usable. Anyway, I will now leave you with the rest of the music while we are now doing all the foliage and all the little detail work over here, finishing up this wonderful habitat. I really like how this habitat turned out. It looks amazing, especially when you see it in the full shots in the end, in the real-time part. It looks great. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video so far. Again, no video next week, and probably also no video the week after that, because I'm on holiday. Again, little information over here, so don't be confused if there is no video. There's a reason for it. And yeah, I see you now in the real-time part at the end, and hope you enjoyed the video so far. Alright, now we are in our real-time part, and before we start looking at the Bighorn exhibit, we have some naming to do. And the first name comes from one of our newest animals, and it comes from McDonald's77, who asked in a lovely comment if we could name off the coyotes Wile-E Coyote, of course named after the Looney Tunes character who always tries to chase and hunt down the Roadrunner, and I think this is a lovely, nice reference to that animal. So let's find our male coyote. He is over here, probably. Yes, he is, and we'll name him after the famous character from that series, Wile-E Coyote. A lovely and wonderful idea. Now there was also a second suggestion coming from baconbit_builder, who asked if we could name off the giraffes Gypsy after apparently a Pacific Rim roboter. Pacific Rim was a movie in the early 2000s about gigantic mech robots or gigantic mechs who fight monsters. And it was of course a cool idea because it's a gigantic robot, it's a gigantic animal. Though the name Gypsy, you probably already know, is kind of a bit of a controversial one, as it also can be seen as a slur word and as an insult to the people from Romania. So since some groups of course are fine with the name, some others don't, and since it's not really there's no really a fine gray line between these two, I decided to not name it, but I wanted to let you know so that also the person who suggested that name, Baconbit, knows why I don't do that. It's because it's not really clear if it would be an insult to these people or not, and I rather don't want to insult any minorities or ethnic groups here. So that sorry for that I don't name it, but it was a great suggestion. And if you have another name or a different name for the animal, let me know in the comments. And if it's not a problematic name, then I will name the animal, of course, after that. But that out of the way, let's jump over here, and we start actually not in front of the habitat. We start over here in front of our coyote exhibit, because I wanted to show you the panorama effect that we now have going on. And so we have our coyotes in the foreground, and as you can see here in the background, we have, I can also start the game, we have our mountain goat, our Bighorn Sheep, standing on that rock looking over its kingdom. And so we have this very nice panorama effect. The same goes for if they would stand over there. We see both of the animals in one shot basically, which creates this nice view of seeing the animals. And we can also, if they are on this platform over here, then we can see the feeding box over there, so you could even see them if they would be on top of here. And I'm really happy that I pulled it off. It was my main idea, or my main reason for doing that. Now we can see them walking over there, and it feels like this is one continuous rock area, one mountain area basically, and they could, if they would be, could travel here and jump into the coyote exhibit. But that out of the way, let's go down here and let's follow the path over the little bridge, over the train tracks, and we get into the Bighorn exhibit, where I added this little bee or insect hotel over here just to fill this little void area of on this side. And then we come to the main viewing areas for these animals, where on this side we have the little water area where they can drink, and then we have all this rockwork over here piling up into this big mountain over there, and all the goats jumping and climbing all over them. They can also go into these little mine shafts, or what I think I've tried to make it look like little mine shafts. They can actually go in there, and there are some bedding placed there, so they will sleep in these. And if we follow the path, we of course can follow the goats along as they go over here on this side. And go to the other side where there's another sleeping area, and then this path next to the little display. I didn't know what to put in here, so I made this little display of coyotes, of a coyote group howling. I think it was really nice, a little bit of an art style, or of an art piece over here for this area. But we can also follow this path, and they show it that they can go inside there to sleep. We can follow this path around. Of course, there's nothing on this side yet, but if we go around here, we get to the other side, where we can also get a look at their backstage building, where I said I changed a little bit how it's layout. I made this extension over here. We also see their separation cage over here, but it's a little bit hidden behind the foliage, so to not disturb the view for the guests as much as possible, to break the immersion. Of course, there's still a little bit of breaking the immersion over here, but in general, it tries to uphold this deserty feeling of a mountain cliff in the desert. And I mean, if you just see these views, I think it's amazing how it looks, especially with how high and elevated it is, and you basically have to look up to the animals. You don't look down on them, they look down on you. I think it's really great. And you can get really up close to them, which I think is also, it's really amazing. I really like how everything turned out. I wasn't too sure in the beginning, especially with all the rock work. I'm not the best in rock work, but I think in the end it paid out, and yeah, it made for a really amazing, cool habitat, I feel like, with the group of Bighorn patrolling and walking through their mountainous exhibit. But yeah, this is basically it for this week, and this also means this is it for the next 2 weeks if nothing changes. If there isn't a surprise announcement of a new DLC this week, then we will see each other in 2 weeks again. And until then, I hope you had a great time, you stay safe, you enjoyed this video, and I see you then in a couple of weeks with a new adventure from Edelwald. Until then, stay safe and bye bye everyone.